One of the most impressive achievements of the CivClassic server, perhaps in all of Minecraft, is the Great Overland Railway. While most servers would use plugins like /home or /spawn in order to get around quickly, the Grand Overland Railway is instead placed block by block with no schematics or creative mode, and it is, of course, a marvel of Minecraft engineering. In this video, I will break down the history of the build, how the railway was built, and the impact of the railway on the trade between the various nations of CivClassic. During an interview with the original builder of the Great Overland Rail, user BGBBA, he explained to me exactly how the rail was began as an idea and how it was built. Here we're going to explain exactly where the server's lore and history originates from and how the GOR came to be. Originally, CivClassic was derived off of an earlier server called CivCraft 2.0, the second version of an older server. Most of the users were mainly from 4chan with a few Reddit towns, and so the politics and the discussion generally took place around such a medium. This is where we return to user BGBBA, who during this time was holding the position of the Minister of Infrastructure inside a 4chan town called Polynesia. During this time, most of the rails being built were underground and as a result, quite unnavigable, not to mention not very good looking, only serving their purpose of sending players from one space to another. The coding was complex, and there were no visual cues to know if one was going in the right direction. And so, BGBBA was at the time recruiting heavily for his nation, often dealt with complaints on how hard and unusable they were. Weirdly enough, this was actually not the impetus for him to begin building one of the biggest overland rails to be built in Minecraft history. Instead, it was a rude comment from one of his fellow governors. He identified as the inciting incident. In his own words, some dickhead, I don't remember who, told me that overland rails weren't just ugly, but they couldn't work. So, out of spite, I decided to prove that Overland Rail could look better and be useful for new friends. He would continue to work on this rail for the next few years, beginning from the beginning of the server's map, forming the nation of Yodel, which hosts most of the rail, until now, with him connecting all of the disparate Yodelan towns, all of which are placed at the top of cliffs with bridges, which I thought should be rails because I want to prove that overland rails were possible. I'll get into why all of the towns are on top of cliffs in another video. So, we will now get onto the rail and its impact on Yodel. Once the rail and a few points were finished, the benefits it granted were immense. Yodel, once a middling country with not much to speak for it, suddenly became the economic and building center of the southern region of the world, allowing it to amass a huge amount of land and power. The reason for this newfound success was simple. The travelers going to Yodel had to go through its capital, New Yodel City, or NYC. So anyone looking to pass through and exchange and engage in trade had one very useful shopping array to choose from, which was easily accessible from anywhere in the home region of Yodel. Secondly, many mining and farming towns began popping up as a result of the increased economic opportunities, and because the rails moved with the land, it is easier to link a new town, which will be situated fairly with the land, unlike underground rails, which are, because of their nature, a nightmare to deal with, as they often have to go under the ocean. Anyways, thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe and